All right, so we got our Week 13 matchup. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. It's Dallas here at home versus the Kansas City Chiefs. And over the weeks, Slater and I have done a lot of research on teams and opponents and in games each week. And I can sum up how I feel about Kansas City here, and then I'll kick it over to you, Slater.
Yep.
But you look at a team like the Eagles that we just played and beat. And you know what they are. You know what they're going to give you. You know where their strengths and weaknesses are. They do what they do, and they try to do it better than you, with you knowing full well what they're bringing to the table. And if you outperform them and you can minimize your own mistakes, you have a good chance of winning. But it's been hard for a lot of teams to do. You've got other teams like that. You've got teams that are playing real consistent. You know what they're going to bring to the table. Like San Francisco and the Packers. They're known elements. But then there are teams that fall every year into that category where showing up and just playing football may not be enough because they have something so unique and characteristic as a team that it's hard to plan for that.
Yep.
And you're thinking, what am I talking about, right? So you look at Dallas. Dallas is actually starting to turn into one of those teams since we got Quinnen. Our defense is holding its own, but we have a very prolific and exceptional offense, right? That's kind of our special breed of weapon. And then you look at teams in Detroit who have a very unique and gritty style of offense where they're very aggressive. They go for it on fourth and downs a lot, which is, a lot of trick plays with a talented group. And that's kind of their special sauce. And then you got the Ravens, who have a stout defense. And then they have Lamar Jackson. And there's two big names that have similar things that they bring to the table. One of them is Josh Allen. You look at the Buffalo Bills, and as a team on a stat line and just as a roster, there's nothing exceptional about them, but you can never count them out because if Josh Allen puts on his cape, you're in trouble.
Yep.
That one player can do so much. So I say all that to say this: the Chiefs have that with Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes is capable of beating you damn near by himself. And that's what scares me about this game. Do I feel like we're going to line up and play well in our fundamentals and do a good job? Yeah. If he gets on a tear, this could be difficult for us if we don't get it contained and have a great game plan early at home tomorrow. What do you think?
I the Kansas City Chiefs overall are a team who has proven themselves over this century or this decade here, right? They since 2019 Mahomes has or 2018 Mahomes has done nothing but dominate. AFC Championship, Super Bowl appearance, Super Bowl 1, 2020 same thing again, lost Super Bowl 2021, lost to Joe Burrow, and the AFC Championship 2022, Super Bowl appearance, won, Super Bowl appearance, won, lost against the Eagles, and now we're here, right? This is a team that has a lot of pedigree, a team that like you said, you cannot ever count out. If you think that Mahomes is going to roll over tomorrow, you're talking crazy. And I don't think a lot of people do think that Mahomes will roll over. This Kansas City Chiefs team right now is kind of fighting through its own battles, but that's what happens with all great teams. All great teams can't be great forever. If that was the case, the 90s Cowboys would still be great today. But here we are
Right.
30 years later in our drought currently. So what I say all this is to say is Dallas just needs to show up and play their game. Don't put yourself in a hole again. Don't do the fundamentals right. If Dallas comes out there and does the fundamentals right, and let's say KC comes out there and they come out hot, this game may turn into a shootout or it may turn into a back and forth battle going on here, which is something that Dallas is very good in. What Dallas cannot do, as I just said, is put themselves in the hole. If they put themselves in the hole again, I don't think you have enough. You can't squeeze the limit enough to somehow pull off another 21-point comeback. Or as a
Sure.
fan, if you expect a 21-point comeback again, if that happens, you're asking for a lot because Andy Reid and his coaching staff, they have a lot of pedigree too, man. They know how to kill time off the clock. They know what Mahomes can do. They get Pacheco back. They're going to be down to an all-pro offensive lineman, but if you go down in a hole against this team, you're not going to come back from it. Now, what the Dallas does have the advantage of is they're rolling off of house money. They have high momentum, they have high energy, and they have the ability to go out there and really show the world that, hey, with us being healthy and the trades that Jerry Jones made for this team, they have a chance to dominate again and scare Detroit for next week and show the league that, hey, we are here to make a playoff push. Because this is where both teams are at. Kansas City 6-5 and we're 5-5-1. We really should be 6-5, but that can be saved for another time.
And they were
Um,
being counted out too.
yes, like
And
this
just
game
like
for
the Ravens in the last couple of weeks, they've caught a heater. They're catching
yeah,
heat at the right time, as we are.
yeah, these two teams right here are both fighting for their playoff spots. Both teams know going into this game that this could really make or break their season. If you look at
Right.
any of the like analysis videos or the percentage videos of, what happens if you win or lose this game, your percentages go from uptrending from like 60s to 70s if you win this game into all the way down to like 8% is what I saw for Dallas. And it's not because that you can't make the playoffs at 9 wins or 11 or 9, 10, or 11 wins.
You need
It's the,
help.
yeah, it's the fact that you need some help.
Right.
And Dallas needs to find a way to finally get on the winning side of a record and not keep it at this, hey, we're 5-5 and then we lose, we go back to 5-6, and then we win and we lose and we win and we
Sure.
lose. We already put ourselves behind the eight ball. We talked about in the early parts of our season in our videos before the bye, we dropped games that we should have not dropped that put you in the situation to go big or go home. And that's
Right.
just the truth of it. This is the tough part of the schedule that everyone was scared of in the preseason, and they had every right to be. And now we're here. So Dallas needs to fight. Now, what do I see Dallas doing to take advantage of the Chiefs? I think it's going to come down to the running game. I think even with Chris Jones and even oh man, I'm from blanking on that linebacker's name that the Chiefs have. But they have that really good linebacker, and I'm blanking on his name, and he'll probably hit me here in a minute.
Karlaftis.
No, he's at defensive end. I'll get back to it on it. Anyways, let me keep going.
Sure.
If they can find a way to dominate the run like they have been doing all year, no matter who they're playing, they can really set up Dak Prescott for the play action, like we just did against Philly, right? Javonte Williams had a really good day. Malik Davis behind him had a good day, and it set up George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb. Now, do I still think that, for all the fans out there may say, let's run the offense through George Pickens? I think it doesn't hurt to. I think it doesn't hurt to, at least ride the hot hand there, but still make sure you're getting CD involved because CD could be the 88, like, that wheel that everyone thinks is gone, but he's really not. And then on the other side, Dallas has to have a pass rush against Mahomes. He's going to be mobile. He's going to be rolling. But like you talked about with Jalen Hurts, I think you can find some similarities in that game. Of course, Mahomes isn't just going to like freeze in the pocket. If he probably gets rushed, he's probably going to get rid of the ball and not just stand there and take a sack on 3rd and 2. But make sure Mahomes can't get outside the pocket and rush for another 10 to 20 yards because he's been really good at that lately, running with his legs and keeping drives alive. But my question for you would be when you're taking in all this, this is a team that do you remember the last time we played the Chiefs? I mean, what was it, 2021? And we played in Kansas City and this is just a team we don't play a lot. So, what do you think is the biggest like emphasis going into this game? Is it the offense going out there and trying to play in a shootout, or does it really need to be the defense like we did against Philly in that second half?
Man, it's really for me. It's pretty cut and dry. This is a team that knows how to win.
Yep.
They like you said, they've dominated this decade for the most part. Um, Patrick Mahomes is the elite quarterback. This isn't Jalen Hurts.
Yeah.
You know, he doesn't have a significant roster to make up for his low points. You know what I mean? He elevates everybody on his team, very similarly to Dak. But he's got the rings and the prestige. and the Kelseys and the Case the Swifts and all that, to help feed that machine and bring a very bright light over there. But in all honesty, he's one of the best quarterbacks to play in recent history. So
Yep.
that's what's really scaring me is he can take care of a team even when they're playing well. So the key to victory for me on this is everybody will have to do their job with minimal mistakes. Not it doesn't have to be perfect, but it's got to be very good, a very high level. The game plan has to be solid because if they come out on the first play and you're thinking it's going to be some elaborate run or read option and he just drops back and dumps it 60 yards to Worthy and just hit us right in the mouth and they run it in for a touchdown, it's going to be a bad day. We have to set the precedent tomorrow, being at home, having that advantage of how well we play at home, that Mahomes is going to have to play much more thorough and physical in this game against us here in Dallas. If we play Mahomes ball, he's just gonna play college style, free handed, pitching it behind
Hmm.
the back, all that kind of mess. If he catches us just a little bit out of position or, a broken play or anything like that. I think in this game, we definitely have to have a player assigned to Patrick Mahomes. So I guess what I'm trying to say is we cannot have any severe mistakes tomorrow. We have to play controlled and very deliberate football in all three phases of the game for 4 quarters.
Yeah, and the biggest thing is how do you feel? We as we're filming this, it's Wednesday night, so we're coming off our back to back here after yesterday's reaction video. With Tyler Guy being ruled out, do you feel that it's going to have a significant impact, or do you think Nate Thomas fulfills the role and at least survives as that like 1 to 2 game starter that everyone says like he's really good for that 1 to 2 games, and then after that it could be different.
Yeah, he might have some bumpy moments, but I don't think there's anybody on that defensive line that is any better than anybody we've already played this season.
Yeah.
The Philadelphia Eagles defensive line was, in my opinion, much stouter than what we're going to play tomorrow. So if we can handle that, I'm not saying that matchups don't matter and that other talents, other skill sets can impact differently. They can. But I think our offensive line is typically pretty prepared, for where our soft spots are. I'm sure there'll be some chip assists, and we'll probably have a lot of tight ends running around on the line throughout the game. So, my bigger concern is going to be how well we run the ball and dealing with Nick Bolton over the middle. So
That's who it is.
yeah,
Nick
I
Nick
think,
Bone.
yeah, I think that's kind of where this is going to come down to. I would like to see us just really run the ball and try to grind them down.
Yeah, it really does need to be a turnover free. I know we're kind of emphasizing the repeat, but that's where we're at
Sure.
here. It's not necessarily like Dallas and Schottenheimer. You need to somehow out scheme this. The Chiefs aren't. They're a very good team, but they're not like the high powered Chiefs that we've seen out over the past couple of years. The team's getting
Sure.
older. You've got guys who aren't playing it as well as they used to. Kelsey isn't just like this monster anymore. I mean, still good, but he's not that monster that we saw the past couple of years. And so it's all about mistake free football and really containing Mahomes, because if you can do those two things, that can open up everything else. Is slowly over time you will put them behind the 8 ball like the Colts did. Colts had them the whole entire game, and then they let Mahomes get hot,
Yeah.
and guess what? They ended up losing, and the Chiefs and the Cowboys had the very similar weeks last week. You were down big the whole time, and then you rallied together and won. So these two teams are coming off of huge wins, huge comeback wins. So both teams know what the mission is going into this game. And of course, they set up the schedule where the Chiefs are coming to Dallas to play on Thanksgiving with Post Malone doing the halftime show, and you're going to get high energy. Mahomes was a Cowboys fan growing up his whole life. He's from Texas. He's from
Right.
Texas Tech.
Yeah.
You know, he's going to have all of his family there. Taylor Swift may make an appearance in the booth, and it's
It's not
it's
going
going
to
to
get
be.
any bigger. Yeah.
You know what? I think they said the record was set for most views on the Thanksgiving game was 42 million. I think it was the Cowboys versus Giants in 2023. I would not be surprised if it's broken tomorrow by this game because of how highly these two franchises are thought of, especially with the Chiefs being so successful lately.
Right.
And then you have America's team here, and it it
But
it
but at the same
yeah,
time, man, this is our house too. You
it
know, we
is.
we we run the Thanksgiving thing. You know, Thanksgiving is an AT&T Dallas Cowboys show,
Yeah,
right? So, we typically show up on Thanksgiving.
yeah,
Win or lose, we typically, we're prepared for the moment. It's not too big for our players because it's Dallas. This is just a weekly thing for us with, some Salvation Army, you know, pots around the sideline. You know what I mean? So,
yeah.
the moment's not too big for us. So hopefully, their team, which is pretty used to the spotlight too, gets a little bit of stars in their eyes and gets off to a slower start than us. Like I've been saying, there's a front end of this and a back end of this. The front end of this is Patrick Mahomes, and the back end of this is going to be the biggest test for our defense yet. This is a cerebral quarterback that knows how to win these kinds of games and has been doing. He did it all season last year. It's how they had their record.
Yep.
But the truest test for us is going to be with our cornerbacks. We're starting to get gelled just a little bit. We're a little banged up. I'm not sure if Kalen Carson's going to play in the game or not. But what they do have that we haven't really dealt with yet since what do we want to call the new defense since 2025 defense post Quinnen
Yep.
is wide receivers that just have burn it speed. Okay, because the wide receivers that Kansas City is bringing, one of them's a very experienced veteran. Brown. That's
Hmm.
track speed. Xavier Worthy. We know that's track speed. And then I think we've got Juju down there on the roster somewhere. He's no slouch
Rasheed
either.
Rice.
Rasheed Rice. I mean, these guys can run right past us, and if we put all four of them out there at the same time, if we're not getting to Patrick Mahomes, this could pose a problem. So I just think very early in this game, we've got to get home, and speed up his clock a little bit and let him know that he's not going to be able to just sit back there and whip the ball around deep all day. So
Yeah.
that's kind of where I'm at. Definitely need another good outing on special teams, and I think this one's going to be preparation and coaching more than anything. I think the players will play.
Yeah, the players are going to play. I mean, you're coming off a very quick turnaround from Sunday, so the players are still going to have their game mindset, maybe with a little nicks and bruises, but they're going to be ready to rock and roll. It's, like you said, it's going to be Thanksgiving in Dallas. You're hyped up, you're ready. I mean, Dallas players are used to this, and I mean, for the game plan here, it's really going to come down to Mahomes. I really don't know. I wish for our viewers we had more to break down and be able to explain everything. But when I look at all the highlights, all the film, all the videos, I mean, you really can't point to anybody else. It's not like I'm like, oh well, we really need to worry about Kareem Hunt or Isaiah Pacheco. Like, yeah, they're threats, but I mean, we contained Saquon Barkley, you contained Ashton Genty, so we've been very successful against running backs.
Yeah,
Now, things can change tomorrow, but we've been very
sure.
successful post Quinn and trade. And I just believe that Mahomes can make or break your day. That arm is crazy. Those bird tracking receivers that you were just talking about are insane. Rasheed Rice has been on a tear since he's been back from the suspension. And,
Mahomes
Kelsey
is
may.
smart though.
Yes, there's a
He
reason
can
why.
bait you. Yeah, he can bait you on the sideline. He can bait you in the pocket, dropping back. He'll be looking right and flip it left on a pitch. I mean, you really have to stay highly, highly focused when you play this guy because it's not just basic football at a high level with him. It's elite football all day, and then some exceptional plays sprinkled in when you let your guard down, and that's the scariest part for me. I'm not
Yeah.
trying to hype him up any more than he already is, but they have got to take this thing seriously if they're going to have a chance. Which I know we do. I'm not by any means scared.
Yeah.
I think we're going to play well tomorrow, but I just don't want this to turn into another one of those situations where we come out with the first drive and go 3-and-out. We turn it over to him. They run it up the middle once for a 2-yard gain, and then on the next play, he drops back 4 steps, 5 steps, and moonballs it because Hooker and whoever they've got covering one of his guys can't keep up or are out of position, cheating up, and we kick a field goal on the next drive. You know what I mean? We cannot play them that way. We're either going to
Yeah.
have to come out and stand up on defense on the first drive or score on the first drive and let them know that you're going to have to come through us to win today.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Like Mahomes is a winner. Like I'm not here to talk
Right.
trash on Mahomes. Mahomes deserves no disrespect. The guy's done nothing but win. Yeah, he's done
We
nothing
don't
but
need none of
win.
that. Once the clicker starts, man, it's not good.
Yeah. And we Dallas fans, we know, everyone knows the offense can keep up all day. We've seen it. It don't matter. The offense can keep up, but this season, this game, it's all coming down to that defense. And this game in particular will challenge the secondary more than it did with Philly. And
Right.
there's probably a lot of good film that the Chiefs got off of that first half, but hopefully from that second half, they realize that we're some threats back there in that secondary, whether it's Ravel, and then if Kalen Carson plays it or not, and you still have Bridges and you still have Bland and you still have, your safeties, and just we gotta find a way to get home, and that's what that pass rush is gonna be really crucial for. We finally need to be able to see if Quentin Williams pass rush, Kenny Clark's pass rush, Osa's, and then Exaraku's and Clowney's. They've got to get home faster than they did against the Eagles, and that's just to prevent this from coming
Yeah.
to you.
So,
And
so what do you think's more important for the defensive line? Is containment more important for the defensive line? And I don't mean just containment in general, but specifically not letting Patrick escape the pocket at all, similarly to what we did with Jalen Hurts,
yeah.
or is getting into the backfield and disrupting the play development more important. Not necessarily sacking, but just like, when a quarterback drops back and he goes to do his exchange or do his first read and his line is already in shambles and he has that oh damn look on his face. Which one of those things do you think is more necessary tomorrow? What's going to affect Mahomes more?
Play disruption, and I say that in the sense of Mahomes isn't really like a mobile first quarterback. He's really good at it. He can run the ball, and if you break contain, it can be trouble for you. But disrupting those reads so he can't load up for a deep pass, or he can't find ways to meticulate the defense and find that open window at the exact time to dot him up for 10 to 15 yards down the field. I'd rather see him break out of the pocket a lot and scramble and know that, hey, my secondary is doing its job. It's like Philly in the first game, week 1, when we played them. There was nothing down the field, right? It was all Jalen Hurts' legs to get him points and move the ball. If I see that from the Chiefs and Mahomes, I'm okay with that as long as we eventually slow it down and stop it instead of what the Eagles did to us week 1. Instead of, hey, we're containing you, Mahomes, but Mahomes isn't like Lamar Jackson or Josh Allen who's looking to like run the ball first. He is a thrower first, but will use his legs if needed.
Sure. Okay. And then offensively, obviously we got to have a good day, a strong day from both of our two number one wide receivers, George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb, which I expect them to do whatever they can do with the opportunities given to them. But, you know, this is a future Hall of Fame coach, so he's no fool. He knows how to deal with good, talented offenses.
Yep.
I'm going to put you in a hole here, but taking away our two wide receivers and Javonte Williams and Dak, who else on the offense can be a key role player for the day and provide something that maybe there's not so much of a plan for from the Kansas City coaching preparation?
Man, I'd say Jake Ferguson because the guy hasn't had any crazy games, but I didn't really study much of Nick Bones' pass coverage and all that. But I think Ferguson could have a day himself with anything that's seam routes, maybe some tight end screens, maybe some play actions that roll to him. Outside of that, it's what we talked about in our reaction video. The wide receiver depth for Dallas is insane. So guys like Flournoy, guys like when you go in those four wide receiver sets, if Mingo gets out there tomorrow instead of Tolbert or Tolbert gets out there instead of Mingo, I think they have a great opportunity to maybe cook up a route or two that helps out the offense to whether it's a score or whether it's, hey, let's get this first down and move on. I think that attacking the Chiefs on out routes and anything with Ferguson in the middle area can be really
Some
good for him.
stacks, well, I think some stacks like
Yeah,
that would be nice, just to make Bolton have to commit to
choosing.
because yeah, choose to go high, choose to stay low, choose to follow, and then have two options, right there in the middle of the field around the seams,
Yep.
and just be like whoever's first open. You can run somebody out of a slant, out of the I don't even know what I'm trying to say, but off to the left and then run another one off to the right, and then as they're layered, just try to hit somebody else out of the slot. That's what I was trying to say.
Hmm.
You get a slot receiver, just running across the flat and then run, a mid slant and
Yeah.
just see what we can find. Probably going to be a lot of safe passes, a lot of, comebacks and hitches until we soften them up enough to do what we do on offense later in the game. But for me, I think the player that could have an impact is Ryan Flournoy. I really think that
Yeah.
if they get him out there early and get him involved in the game, he's a very good possession wide receiver. So whenever Dak gets stuck, if he's a hot route somewhere, I think that could really help us out a little bit.
Yeah, and he's been your wide receiver 3, so it's
So
very
far, yeah.
obvious that he has the ability to step up and do it. So I have full confidence in him to do the job, but it, it's going to be a very exciting Turkey Bowl day game. That's what
Yeah, I'm
I'm.
absolutely excited. I think we'll pull this one off somehow again.
You got a score prediction?
This one's going to be a little bit higher. I'm probably going to say this one's going to be 34, 32, 31, somewhere in there.
I'll go 27, 23, 24. I'm going to say 24.
Okay. Sounds good to me.
But any final comments or anything?
No, man, I'm good to go. Ready to get this week done. Hopefully with a victory, and then with a victory tomorrow, things can start looking a little more serious around here because outside of Detroit, we have a very manageable schedule for the rest of the season. And
Yep.
considering what all the other teams are going up against, there are a lot of teams that have good records right now that are fixing to go through gauntlets themselves. We're halfway through the hardest part of our schedule this year, and there are two or three teams that are in the playoff hunt that are about to go into their biggest gauntlet of the year. So, if we can get one more victory out of this first four games after the bye, I think we'll be in pretty good shape for the rest of the year.
I do too. I'm just ready to hopefully get that win, and then we can look forward towards the Lions and start really kind of painting this picture of can we get on that late season run to make playoffs. It'll be exciting. But yeah, I mean, this is our second night on the back-to-back video. So if y'all are enjoying, we're I think 6 subscribers away from 200. So on the road to that. And to all of our viewers, have a happy Thanksgiving, and let's go Cowboys.